Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MarkZDrumcast. I'm your host, Mark Zapata. I'm the owner and founder of MarkZDrums. We are in the midst of some technical difficulties right now. But I will tell you this, that we have circumvented some of the issues, right? What I would like to do is say hello and welcome after two failed attempts. And again, in all transparency here at the MarkZDrumcast, two failed attempts with no audio. Not sure why, but I'm pretty sure that we have audio right now. It's a different way of doing it. I am pretty confident that we have everything going correctly and working right. And without further ado, on with the show. First of all, let me apologize for the no-show on Friday. We had technical difficulties which prevented the show from going live on YouTube on Friday. But we are here today on this beautiful Monday as we move forward at the MarkZDrum Studios. We have a lot of new stuff going on right now, a lot of changes, a lot of learning curves that are happening. As I build out my studio, I'm learning more and more about different things. I'm trying different things, and sometimes they don't work out so great. You know, it is what it is. But we move on, we press on. You get what you get here at MarkZDrums Studios. You get everything, the behind the scenes, warts and all, mistakes and all, problems and all. We get it. But what is the point? We're here to talk drumming. We're here to talk to people who love drumming. We're here to talk to people who love drumming. The community is being built. And personally, I'm here because I have a lot of things to offer, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge to share. And while I have great students and great bands that I work with, I feel like I still have more to give. So here I am on the MarkZDrumcast, sharing some stories with you. First, let me start off by saying that by the end of this video, you're going to have a very good idea and a good grasp on how to become more creative on the drums. Lately, I've had students asking me about how do I make better fills? How do I play better music? How do I be more creative? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into creativity and how to build creativity. It's a very, very fun subject, a very important subject, and something that's easy to understand. So I'm going to get into that in a minute. So as I mentioned, over the weekend, see now we have weird things happening here. As I mentioned over the weekend, or as I mentioned earlier in the show, there was no show on Friday. No show on Friday, no show over the weekend. We had some technical issues that have obviously not been ironed out yet. But I have some new additions to my studio. I have a new monitor, which I'm using for my A10 Mini Pro to see all of my different cameras and everything that I have going on there. So that's a new addition, which of course, as we talked earlier about cable management, just adds more cables to the mix. Power cable, HDMI cable, and then a couple of new camera angles, which we will be unveiling in the next drum cover I do and the next song breakdown that I do, which is coming up, as well as the laterality in drumming video that I'm working on right now. There's Louis, Free Dog, my co-host. He will be in and out at his discretion. whenever he feels like it. So, a little bit about the weekend. I started talking about the weekend because I had some interesting lessons in the weekend. Always interesting, always fun. I am consulting a number of my clients as far as equipment, buying drums, upgrading cymbals, headphones, things like that. All important things. So if you are a drum teacher, I encourage you to be involved with your students on that level as well, because you are bringing in the knowledge and expertise and experience needed by your clients when they're looking to buy equipment for their students, for their children, or themselves. Good deals, where to find good deals, what equipment might they need now as opposed to down the road, all kinds of things like that. Drumsticks, headphones, all kinds of things like that. So be involved with your clients as far as helping them navigate those decisions as well. It'll help you build better relationships. And listen, that's what I'm here for as a teacher. I'm here for all aspects of my students' development, whether that's equipment, maintenance, whatever it is, headphones, practice equipment, books, anything. That's what I'm here for. So working on that over the weekend, and then also having a situation where I had a new student show up, a young boy, come in to start playing drums. And, the parents coming in for the first couple of lessons, which is fine. I don't, beyond that, I like to have the students one-on-one because it's important to build that teacher-student relationship. With the parents there all the time, that's not really possible. It's a different dynamic. It's a very different dynamic. And so we need to start building that student-teacher relationship. So after a couple of weeks, the mom said upon leaving one of the lessons, hey, he had a sub last week, and I was wondering who that was. And I said, well, you could talk to the receptionist about who that was. I don't know, but I'm sure the receptionist will be able to tell you. And I kind of walked away thinking, okay, that's kind of strange. The student was very quiet, didn't respond to my questions, I didn't know what was going on. I was a little confused by the whole thing. That's not something I have to deal with very often. I usually have a great rapport with my students. They usually feel very comfortable with me. But this does happen. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. So I said, sure, go ahead. See who the sub was, and if that's better for the student, then I'm all for it. Then I was told that the student was taken off of my schedule and given to another teacher, and I said that's fine, whatever is best for the student. Then the student would show up on Saturdays on my schedule, and I was just curious why, and turns out that they had some makeups that they needed to do, and they could only do it on a Saturday, which is when I work every day. But apparently the other teacher was not available. And so the last couple of weekends that this was happening, where I was still substituting for this student, who originally was my student and then became another teacher student, I noticed that he was loosening up a little bit. He was getting a little more talkative, a little more involved, listening better, being more involved in the lesson itself. And as a teacher, this is just something that happens every so often. You get a student that'll come in and maybe they're very quiet or they're very shy or whatever it is. You don't know. So, I have to approach my lessons the same way all the time. So then the question was asked, after probably the most interactive this student had ever been with me, would it be possible to do one lesson with you, one lesson with the other teacher? And I said, well, that might be confusing to the student. We might have very different teaching styles. We might explain the same concepts differently. And we don't really communicate as far as we don't really share information about students because we don't really share students. So I said, I think that might be a little confusing. And certainly it was confusing to me because I didn't know what exactly was going on. So no matter what I felt about the situation, having that student on my schedule, I taught them the same way I would teach anybody else, and just gave the best lesson I could give. And like I said, he was a little more involved. So we will see what happens moving forward. I've also had the situation where I sub for another teacher and the student comes in, and I feel like there's a connection. And I love students who are, further along, more advanced, and drum savvy. I have certain students that just get drums. They just get the way it goes, the way it's supposed to happen, what's supposed to go on with drums. They just get it. They just understand it. And we, me and this other student and I had a really good conversation about a song that she was learning. And I thought to myself, I would love to have this student on my roster. This would be really, really fun because I could really kind of get down into the stuff and talk like real drums with this student who's pretty young. But a number of my students are young and very, very talented. So it happens that way. For whatever reason, either students and teachers connect or they don't. You can't take it personally as a teacher. But be involved and just give the best lessons you can no matter what you're doing. So that was kind of a weird little situation at my school. One of my student bands had a performance on Saturday for a homecoming that got canceled. I was pretty bummed about it. They didn't seem too bummed about it. I was bummed about it because they were really sounding good, and this was kind of like one of those one-off performances that happens during the course of the season or the semester as we're working towards the show at the end. Sometimes we get a couple of shows peppered in at the town, at the local this, the local that, an outdoor show, whatever it is. And I like those because it keeps everybody on their toes. But anyway, that got canceled, but we ended up having a good couple of rehearsals anyway because of the rain. So the rain rained out the outdoor show, and we had rehearsals anyway. Things are going well. So when my students ask me about creativity, how am I more creative? How do things, how am I going to be more creative on the drums? I always talk about the Lego set. If you have a bucket of Legos in your playroom and they're all the same color, shape, and size, you're extremely limited as to what you can build. Oh, this is a great wall I built. Really cool. But if you have a Death Star Lego playset, it's got all different kinds of blocks to use. Shapes, sizes, colors, whatever it is. And with that, you could be much, much more creative. Think of it as, let's say you're painting and you have one color that you're painting with. You could make some really cool stuff. At the same time, you could be way more creative with a full color palette. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about adding colors to your color palette. We're talking about adding Lego blocks, different ones to your Lego bucket, different tools to your toolbox. When we talk about tools, what are our tools as drummers? Some of the tools that we can use are rudiments. They are exercises that we do for our hands and our feet if we are creative and we want to use a lot of these exercises for our feet to develop our double bass, to develop our creativity and our coordination with our feet and our hands. We could use rudiments for our feet as well, but mainly for the hands. Look up the Percussive Art Society's 40 Rudiments. It's a list of 40 different exercises we could do for our hands that teaches us coordination, creativity, speed, control, and a lot of different things about rhythm, dynamics, and accents. If we start to develop those different things, our use of accents, our use of dynamics, our use of different rhythms, we could surely boost our creativity quickly. As our technical ability rises, so does our creativity. Because again, we have more tools in the toolbox to choose from. We have more building materials to choose from. Another analogy, you're building a house, but all you have is cinder block. Okay, that's fine, but we need windows. We need a roof. We need wood. we need concrete, we need electrical wiring, we need plumbing, we need all of these things to build a house. So if we build a house out of just cinder blocks, it's fine, but it's not as nice of a house as we could build with all of the other things. So let's start to build, let's start to add those building materials or that vocabulary to our drumming. So think about the 40 different rudiments as 5 different families of exercises of rudiments. The first being roll rudiments, the second being paradiddles, the third being radimacues, fourth being flam rudiments, and then finally drag rudiments. The roll rudiments have a lot of different rolls: single strokes, double strokes, triple strokes, single stroke 4, single stroke 7, long rolls, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 17 stroke rolls, all of that great stuff. It's a very big family of rudiments. We have the paradiddles, which is only 4 paradiddles: single paradiddle, double paradiddle, triple paradiddle, paradiddle diddle. We have 3 radimacue rudiments: single, double, triple radimacue, and then a bunch of flam rudiments and a bunch of drag rudiments. Look up Percussive Art Society, 40 rudiments. We'll start with those. But before we even get to our rudiments, we can do a lot of creative stuff just with single stroke rolls. If we do straight 16th notes, 1 E-enda, 2 E-enda, 3 E-enda, 4 E-enda, let's just do this on the pad for now. Let me pull out my Vader Percussion double surface practice pad, where you have one surface on the top, which is red, which mimics more of the feel of a drum set snare drum. And then the black, which is harder, gives you more of the feel of a marching band snare with a very tight Kevlar head on it. And they give you 2 different sounds. So to have a dual surface practice pad is a very good thing to have. But as we start to work on our rudiments, single stroke rolls, we could start there. The reason why I say starting with single stroke rolls or possibly paradiddles is because it's a simple sticking being lefts and rights. We don't have to really remember our sticking so much if we pick a simple sticking and then start to expand on that idea. What I'd rather do, if we're doing a single stroke roll, what I'd rather do is have a single stroke roll be the sticking that we choose to work with, and then be able to concentrate more on what we do with that sticking as far as using it around the drum set. So for example, I'm going to turn off my mic, and I'm just going to give you some examples of 16th notes around the drum kit in different configurations, so that we can start to be more creative with a very simple sticking. Okay, hold on a second. Here we go. I've taken the 16th, straight 16ths, and I played 1 E-enda, 2 E-enda, 3 E-enda, 4 E-enda, high to low, different toms. And then I broke up those 16th notes between different drums in groups of 2. 1 E-enda, 2 E-enda, and then started to change the pattern. I like breaking up the 16th notes between drums in groups of 2 because it sounds faster. The changes of tone are faster and quicker. And I just think it sounds cooler. It is more challenging because we're moving between the drums at a faster pace. And then we can start to do different patterns. Like an X pattern, we could do different letters around the drums. A C pattern starting here, coming around in a C shape. A capital N, go from the snare up, diagonally across, and then up. You have to use your imagination a little bit to make this work, but let's say an O configuration, we can go here, 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 and then close it by doing a fifth beat around the drum set. But I'd prefer to do it backwards because we do enough high to low normally when we start to learn these fills. All kinds of different, a Z pattern, starting here, coming across, coming diagonally down, and then across in a Z pattern, an S pattern backwards, Z coming around, putting the curves in there, and just a way to identify different patterns. An X pattern here, diagonal, then here, diagonal across. Things like that can be helped for our creativity. Let me give you another example. So start off slow and start building on your movement around the drum set so that you can begin to explore all kinds of different patterns. And again, keep the sticking simple, right, left, so that you don't have to concentrate on keeping that sticking going right. You can concentrate on where you're moving your hands around the drum set. Same with the paradiddle. I think paradiddles are really fun because of the double stroke. We could use it in different ways. Let me give you another example, or give you an example of paradiddles. I'll start out on the snare drum, and then I will do the beginning of each paradiddle on different drums with the rest of the paradiddle happening on the snare drum like this. Using different sticking, or using the paradiddle sticking with right hand, left hand moving to different drums. Then you could expand it to more than one note going to different drums, but still keeping the paradiddle sticking of right, left, right, left, left. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. And just trying different ideas. Some of it might not work. Some of it might not sound good to you. Some of it might sound great to you. That's the idea. We're trying to find what we like, trying to find what feels comfortable and good to us, and what doesn't. And we don't do the things that we feel uncomfortable with, or we don't like the way they sound, but we start to develop our own style that way. Even using different, and I'll do this one slower, even using different drums for each note of the paradiddles like this. So practicing your paradiddles on your pad, on your snare drum, on one surface is great. Once you get them very strong and once you get very comfortable with playing the paradiddle patterns, the left, right, the right, left, right, left, and you could play those patterns, then start to, again, expand across the drum set. But don't be surprised if as you are moving around the drum set, you get confused with your sticking, because hearing a paradiddle differently across different drums now can throw us off a little bit, and that's fine. That's to be expected. But keep at it. Keep working your paradiddles around the drum set. Not forgetting your cymbals, not forgetting your bass drums, and just start to mess around with different ideas. So hopefully this has helped with creativity. Hopefully this has helped to open our minds, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to open our minds to possibilities of what we can do. There are no limits to what we can do on the drums. We just have to keep an open mind. We have to listen. We have to take in other ideas, and we have to experiment. We have to go out there and just get on the drums and have fun and play different things and enjoy ourselves. That is the process. Don't worry about failing. Don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about playing something that doesn't sound good. Don't worry about any of that stuff. That is irrelevant. Those are all the things that are on the way to increasing our creativity. And those are all things that are very natural in the process. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the mistakes, enjoy the things that don't sound good on the way to finding the things that sound great and unlocking our potential to the things that we didn't think we could do when we first started. Okay, so thanks again. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. We are ironing it out. I have a lot of really cool stuff coming up. You're going to see a lot of really cool and fun changes, and we're going to continue to move forward and have a great time here on the MarkZ Drumcast. So from MarkZDrums Studios, thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time, Wednesday.